A generation of American men give up on college. I just feel lost. Why do you think it is? Why would men possibly want to give up on college when they look to college and they see themselves being vilified for everything and they see more indoctrination than education? They see only a dead end at the end of your time in college. Why? What could possibly convince them that college is a bad idea? So, full disclosure, I went to college myself, and I personally would only conditionally recommend people going to college. Now, don't do what your counselors and advisors tell you to do. What they'll tell you is, oh, just take out the student loans, get yourself over $100,000 in debt, and then you can find what you want to do in college. Bullshit. That is god awful advice. Ignore anyone who gives it to you. You need to know before you go to college what you want to do. Figure out what you want to do first, and then do your research and see if you actually need to go to college to do whatever it is you settled on. If you want to be a doctor, you have no choice. You have to go to college. Medical school is your only option. In that case, by all means, go to college. Just know what you're going there for. If the career you decide on, if there is no demand for a college degree in there, save yourself the 4 years of your life and the hundreds of thousands of dollars and skip college. It all depends on what it is you want to do. If what you want to do doesn't require college, then don't waste your time and money. By God, do not listen to those fucking guidance counselors. That is like one of the biggest scams. All right, let's get to the actual article. Men are abandoning higher indoctrination in such numbers that they now trail female college students by record levels. At the close of the current year, -1 to current year academic year, women's made up 59.5% of college students, an all-time high, and men 40.5%, according to enrollment data from the National Student Clearinghouse, a nonprofit research group. Now, I've actually seen a few individual colleges that are more of like a 70-30 split, but this does not surprise me overall. Though I gotta wonder, how many of those women were men identifying as women? U.S. colleges and universities had 1.5 million fewer students compared with 5 years ago, and men accounted for 71% of the decline. Well, maybe if you'd quit vilifying them and blaming them for all the world's problems and saying they are a problem that needs to be fixed, they'd be a little bit more willing to hang out with you. Now, this indoctrination gap, which holds at both 2- and 4-year colleges, has been slowly widening for 40 years. The divergence increases at graduation. After 6 years of college, 65% of women in the U.S. who start a 4-year university in current year -9 receive diplomas by current year -3, compared with 59% of men during the same period, according to the U.S. Department of Indoctrination. I mean, I've seen guys drop out because family issues came up and they literally canceled their future to provide for their family now. I've seen that happen. I've never seen a woman do that. I'm not saying it never happens with women. I just haven't seen it myself. But I had seen that with a few men while I was in college. And then a lot of guys, once they encounter their first mandatory critical race theory or diversity class, that's when they check out. I am not here to be lectured and told that I'm the most horrible person ever. I'm here to learn useful skills for a future career. If you're not going to give those to me, I'm going to leave. Yeah, and then guys are also starting to realize that the trades pay better. In the next few years, 2 women will earn a college degree for every man if the trend continues. That just shows how useless college degrees are, honestly. And they'll still cry about a wage gap. Ultimate irony. Men stop going to college and instead they get high-paying trade jobs, while the women who went to college to make $25,000 a year as social workers continue knocking down women's earnings. Oh, dude. Imagine all these 8-year college indoctrinated women screaming at a plumber for his privilege, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to have these social workers shrieking at plumbers and electricians about their privilege. No reversal is in sight. Women's increased their lead over men in college applications from for the current year to current year plus one school year. Yeah, 3,805,978 to 2,815,810 by nearly a percentage point compared to the previous academic year, according to Common Application, a nonprofit that transmits applications to more than 900 schools. WAMNs make up 49% of the college-age population in the U.S., according to the Census Bureau. And they're still the only ones that are falling for this, because college, at least as it exists right now, is a fucking scam. And the men are catching on to it. The women, on the other hand, they're falling for the propaganda hook, line, and sinker. So men are falling behind remarkably fast, said Thomas Mortensen, a senior scholar at the Pell Institute for the Study of Opportunity and Higher Indoctrination, which aims to improve indoctrinational opportunities for low-income, first-generation, and disabled college students. One way to do that would be to get rid of government-guaranteed student loans. Before that happened, you could work a part-time job and pay your way through college. Then the government guaranteed student loans came in, and now you literally need to put yourself in debt. Some people borrow more money than it would cost to buy a fucking mansion to pay their way through college. If you guys think this whole situation is bad, I ask that you reframe how you're thinking about it. Because if you think this is bad, then you, by extension, must think that college is still a good thing, right? Which would be kind of odd for those of you who are, who've been listening to me for a while. But once you realize that modern day college is a scam, now there's a few examples that are still good. And again, like if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to medical school. But once you realize that in general, college is a scam, you should be happy that most men are realizing this and just noping out. American colleges, which are embroiled in debates over racial and gender equality and working on ways to reduce sexual assault and harassment of women on campus, by their own statistics, 7 out of every 5 women get struggle snuggled during their time in college. Like, women are literally more likely to be struggle snuggled at college than in Afghanistan. Why would anyone send women to college? Like, what self-respecting father would send their daughter to a college like that? And have yet to reach a consensus on what might slow the retreat of men from higher indoctrination. Yeah, maybe stop vilifying men, give them a reason to come back. Actually, one thing that might fix the problem would be a men's-only college. Biologically, men's-only college in particular. Some schools are quietly trying programs to enroll more men, but there's scant campus support for spending resources to boost male attendance and retention. So I noticed this actually back when I was in this system. Even while women were the vast majority of students, there was still you couldn't walk 1 or 2 feet without seeing some advertisement on a board somewhere about women's only scholarships, or we got to get more women into college. Men are the minority right now in college, and yet they get no support. Instead, they get shat on and vilified, even though they're the minority. Women already have a 60% majority nationwide in college, and they still got all these programs dumping money into helping them. It's very sickening when you look under the hood. The gender enrollment disparity among nonprofit colleges is widest at private 4-year schools, where the proportion of women's during the current year -1 to current year school year grew to an average of 61%, a record high. Though Clearinghouse data shows some of the schools extend offers to a higher percentage of male applicants, trying to get a closer balance of men and women. Oh God, watch them get sued for that. Is there a thumb on the scale for boys? Absolutely, said Jennifer Delahunty, a college enrollment consultant who previously led the admissions office at Kenyon College in Gambier, Ohio, and Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. The question is that right or wrong? Well, you guys artificially inflated the population of women in college by giving them preferential treatment and giving them special scholarships and free money and grants. Now, one way to fix this problem would be to get rid of all these women's grants and scholarships and special treatment. You don't have to favor men. The men will be fine. All you got to do is stop giving preferential treatment to women. Like, that's literally it. Mr. Hunty said this kind of tacit affirmation or affirmative action for boys has become higher indoctrination's dirty little secret, practiced but not publicly acknowledged by many private universities where gender balance has gone off kilter. It's unfortunate that we're not giving this issue air and the sun so that we can start to address it, she said. Yeah, everyone's too scared in current year. They don't want to get canceled. This is the environment you guys created. Like, academia is what fostered this environment. Like, I don't feel sorry for you. And the best part is, women, tell me I'm lying, but a lot of women go to college to get a husband. A lot of women only go to medical school because they want to snag a future doctor before he makes his multi-millions of dollars and has his pick of the litter. And a lot of these women, once they get their husband, they drop out. They don't need that high-paying job anymore. They already got their meal ticket. And these women are now showing up to college like, what the fuck is this? How are we going to get a man here? At Baylor University, where the undergraduate student body is 60% female, the admission rate for men in the last year was 7% higher than for women's. Every student has to meet Baylor's admission standards to earn admission. Yeah, for now. They're going to start lowering them soon, said Jessica King, Guregdi, the school's assistant vice president of enrollment strategy and innovation. Classes, however, are shaped to balance several variables, including gender, she said, which is a social construct, isn't it? She said she found the girls more closely attended to their college applications than boys. For instance, making sure transcripts are delivered. Baylor created a males and moms communication campaign a few years ago to keep high school boys on track, she said. Yeah, these boys were probably only doing it because their parents forced them to. Like, for the longest time, so big surprise, I went to college. I got a bachelor's degree in computer science. And I did what I had to do. I said what I had to say to get out of there. I got my degree. I got my foot in the door of my career. That college served its purpose. Once I got my first job in the industry, I didn't need it anymore. And my mom for years kept trying to tell me, oh, you should go back and get a master's, or you should go back and get a doctorate. Oh, you should study some of these other fields. I'm interested in some of those other fields, but I study them myself as a hobby. There's no need for me to pay $100,000 to go through an indoctrination ringer and be told things that I can read for myself online. I am never, if my work requires me to go back to college, that's probably when I'm going to have to leave, because I can't even stay awake through college classes anymore. Among the measures to mothers in the campaign, she said at the dinner table tonight, Mom, we need to talk about getting your high school transcripts in. Race and gender can't be considered in admission decisions at California public universities. Spoiler alert, they do it anyway. The portion of male undergrads at UCLA fell 41% in a fall semester of current year -1 from 45% in current year -8. Over the same period, the undergrad enrollment expanded by nearly 3,000 students. Of those spots, 9 out of 10 went to women's. Women's are already the majority, but they're the most affected. We do not see male applicants being less competitive than female applicants, but fewer men apply. The college gender gap cuts across race, geography, and economic background. For the most part, white men, once the predominant group on American campuses, no longer hold a statistical edge in enrollment rates, said Mr. Mortensen of Pell Institute. Enrollment rates for poor working-class white men are lower than those of young, Black, Latino, or Asian men from the same economic backgrounds, according to an analysis of census data by the Pell Institute for the Journal. All right, I'm just going to tell you the straight-up truth. White men, since they're being vilified so much in academia, they've been woken up to the fact that this is all a big scam. So they're like, yeah, I'm just going to go become an apprentice HVAC dude. Like, I don't need to put up with this shit. Meanwhile, a lot of minority men are still falling for the propaganda. Like, oh, college is how you break the cycle. You need to go to college. College is the only way. Once all the white men leave college, black men are next, then Hispanic men, then Asian. No, actually, no. Once the white men are gone, Asian men are going to be the next ones to be vilified, and then the Hispanic and the black men after the Asians. And then, once it's their turn to be the oppressor, then, we're going to see them leave college as well. But right now, yeah, well, these white dudes, they see what's up. What better way to keep the poor poor than to make them take out $200,000 worth of debt and saddle them with a degree that at best will get them a $30,000 a year job? That's a pretty damn good way to keep poor people poor, huh? Yeah, it's almost as if this whole government guaranteed student loans thing was intentional, isn't it? And no college wants to tackle the issue under the glare of gender politics, says Ms. Delahunty, an enrollment counselor, or enrollment consultant. The conventional view on campuses, she said, is that men make more money, men hold higher positions. Why should we give them a little shove from high school to college? Yeah, while women make up 60% of the college population, they're still the oppressed victims. Yet the stakes are too high to ignore, she said. If you care about our society, one, and two, if you care about women's, you have to care about the boys too. If you have equally indoctrinated numbers of men and women, that just makes a better society and it makes it better for women's. So I just mentioned the women that only go to like medical school to find a husband. Even the women that stay in a high-paying career, the vast majority of them refuse to, as they say, marry down. Oh no, if they're making $100,000 a year, they're only looking at men that make $200,000 a year, which ultimately means they end up alone because the men making $200,000 a year can afford all the hot young 18-year-old strippers they want. They already have a good job, a house, a car. They don't need that shit from you. The pandemic accelerated the trend. Nearly 700,000 fewer students were enrolled in colleges in spring of current year compared to spring of current year -3 or -2. Urinal analysis find with 78% fewer men. Yeah, it's because the men are busy keeping their households afloat. The decline in male enrollments during the current year -1 to current year academic year was the highest at two-year colleges, two-year community colleges. Family finances are believed to be one cause. Millions of women left jobs to stay at home with children when schools closed during the government lockdowns. Many turned to their sons for help, and some young men quit school to work. Yep, that's exactly what I said at the beginning, isn't it? Well, said Colleen Coffey, executive director of the College Planning Collaborative at Farmington State University, Massachusetts, a program to keep students in school. The guys felt they need to step up quickly, Miss Coffey said. Yes, it isn't clear how many will return to school after the government lockdowns. Hopefully none of them. Now, what I do hope is if you're one of those guys that quit so you could support your family and you just took whatever job you could, look into getting an apprenticeship in a trade. Over the course of their working lives, American college graduates earn more than $1 million beyond those with only a high school diploma. That is a very old statistic, by the way. I can guarantee you the gender studies major is not going to fall into this. And then you also obviously got examples like doctors and high-paid scientists that literally get millions or tens of millions of dollars a year. They greatly offset this scale. Yeah, and the university diploma is required for many jobs as well as most professions, technical work, and positions of influence. And yet, for some reason, most men are realizing they don't need that shit. Yet skyrocketing indoctrination costs have made college more risky today than past generations, potentially saddening graduates in lower paying careers, as well as those who drop out with student loans they can't repay. Once again, this wasn't a problem until the government got involved and started guaranteeing student loans. Once the colleges realized they could charge whatever they want and the government was going to guarantee the loan anyway, that's when the prices started skyrocketing. Social science researchers cite distractions and obstacles to indoctrination that weigh more on boys and young men, including video games, pornography, increased fatherlessness, and cases of overdiagnosis of boyhood restlessness and related medications. So, of course, they're using video games and porn as scapegoats. Not the fact that men are literally vilified and treated like shit in college. That couldn't be a reason why they don't want to go. Fatherlessness, understand. Overdiagnosis of boyhood restlessness and related medications. Yeah, they diagnose you with ADHD because they don't want to deal with you. And then they put you on Ritalin and then they wonder why you're fucked up. That's what that last one is. So the last two examples they gave are actually pretty good. The first two are a symptom of the problem. that you are a root cause of. So men in interviews around the U.S. said they quit school or didn't enroll because they didn't see enough value in a college degree for all the effort and expense required to earn one. Many said they wanted to make money after high school. So right after this paragraph up here, oh, it's the porn and the video games. They literally answer their own question down below. Oh, the guys literally said they don't see the value. It must be because of the porn. It's because they're cumin. I mean, actually, I'll give them that. It might be because they're cumin. Once they got that post-cum clarity going on, then they think about it. It's like, hey, wait a minute. College is a bad idea after all. Daniel Briles, 18 years old, graduated in June from Hastings High School in Hastings, Minnesota. He decided against college during his senior year, despite earning a 3.5 grade point average and winning a $2,500 college scholarship from a local veterans organization. So first off, 3.5 GPA isn't really anything special. I guess it is because most high school students don't even bother, like they coast on the bare minimum. But $2,500, depending on the college you go to, that's going to cover like one of your classes during one quarter. So use it wisely. He took a landscaping job and takes home about $500 a week. Dude, that's like $2,000 to $2,500 a month. That is actually not bad. And Mr. Browse, a musician, also earns income from creating and selling music through streaming services, he said, and invests in cryptocurrency. I bet he's going to be financially way better off than his peers. His parents both attend college, and they hope he too will eventually apply. So far, they haven't pressured him, he said. If I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer, then obviously those people need a formal education. Oh, this guy is smart. That's exactly what I've been saying. But there are definitely ways to get around it now, Mr. Browse said. There are opportunities that weren't taught in school that could be a lot more promising than getting a degree. See, this guy, he's got a bright future ahead of him. Holy fucking shit. This guy knows it. He knows what he's talking about. They only teach you one option within the system because obviously the system wants to perpetuate itself. But if you're smart enough to look outside and you see the other option, man, many young men who dropped out of college say they worried about their future, but nonetheless quit school with no plan in mind. Think about this logically. Would you rather drop out of college and stop piling on debt with no plan in mind? Or would you rather continue accruing tens of thousands of dollars of debt with no plan in mind? Which of those two do you think is the better scenario? Either way, you're going to have no plan in mind. But in one case, you at least stop adding to your debt. I would say I feel hazy, said 20-year-old Jay Wells, who quit Defiance College in Ohio after a semester. He lives with his mother and delivers pallets of soda for Coca-Cola in Toledo for $20. $20 fucking dollars an hour? That no wonder he fucking quit college. Dude, I was making $8 an hour when I was going to college for a full-time job. Oh, no, okay, no, I'll take that back. I was doing that same job part-time, $8 an hour. And keep in mind, this is while I was in college. Then I got a full-time job at the same place, and they increased it to $10 an hour. If I had the option to get a $20 an hour job without even going to college back then, I think I would have taken it. Damn. That's more than double what I was doing. Holy fuck. Now, I'm sort of waiting for a light to come on so I figure out what I want to do next. He said, now, again, this is smart. If you're not sure what you want to do, stop increasing your debt. Figure out what you want to do before you put yourself in debt, man. Jack Bartholomew, 19, started his freshman year at Bowling Green State University during the government lockdowns, taking classes online. Great. During his first weeks, he said he felt confused by course material and grew frustrated. Finally, he quit. I know what I'm going to do, he said. I just feel lost. Mr. Bartholomew's parents and one older sister have college degrees. He was a solid student in high school and is interested in studying graphic design. Yet while working online from his second-floor bedroom, his introductory courses seemed pointless for how much he was paying, he said. Ha! I understand that feeling, man. Yeah, I fucking understand. I was there. God, it's actually even worse if you have a side gig while you're in college and you realize that your college work is literally a waste of your fucking time that you could be dedicating to making money doing something else. He works 40 hours a week at $15.50 an hour, packing boxes at an Amazon warehouse not far from his house in Perrysburg, Ohio. It isn't a long-term job, Mr. Bartholomew said. He just doesn't know what to do next. Now, you may want to get a better job than Amazon because you don't have any free time there to plan your next move. But other than that, definitely find out what you want to do first. College seems like, to me at least, the only logical path you can take in America, he said. But for now, he said it's too big a struggle financially and academically. Yeah, this poor kid he sounds like he's lost. Yeah, the previous couple of guys, they actually knew what they were doing, especially the first one. But this guy just seems lost. Yeah, he could use some help. Men dominate top positions in industry, finance, politics, and entertainment. They also hold a majority of tenured faculty positions and run most U.S. college campuses. Yet female college students are running laps around their male counterparts. So this is exactly the same situation as in comics right now. The guys that know what's going on, they just like, oh, you want all these high-profile IPs? You can just have them. I don't want it. The University of Vermont is typical. The student president is a man, and so are nearly two-thirds of the campus trustees. WAMMons make up about 80% of honors graduates in the last year in the colleges of arts and sciences. One student from nearly every high school in Vermont is nominated for a significant scholarship at the campus every year. Most of them are girls, say Jay Jacobs, the university provost for enrollment and management. It isn't by design. Oh, sure it isn't. It's totally not. So even if the grant itself isn't limited to just women, how much you want to bet that the high schools only push girls to apply? Oh, who am I kidding? That's a conspiracy theory. Yeah, we want more men in our pipeline, Dr. Jacobs said, but boys graduate from high school and enroll in college at lower rates than girls, both in Vermont and nationwide. Because they know what they know the game, man. The young men who enroll lag behind. Among the University of Vermont undergraduates, about 55% of male students graduate in 4 years, compared with 70% of women's. I see a lot of guys that are here for 4 years to drink beer, smoke weed, hang out, and get a degree, said Luke Weiss, a civil engineering student and fraternity president of Pi Kappa Alpha at the campus. No, female students in the U.S. benefit from a support system established decades ago, spanning a period when WAMMons struggled to gain a foothold on college campuses. There are more than 500 WAMMon centers at schools nationwide. Most centers host clubs and organizations that work to help female students succeed. Young WAMMons appear eager to take leadership roles, making up 59% of the student body presidents in the current year -2 to current year -1 academic year, and 74% of the student body vice presidents, according to W.H. Butch Oxendine, Jr., Executive Director of American Student Government Association. That's because the men they have better things to do. Like, fuck, student council was such a fucking waste of time. No one that has real shit to do in their lives has time to waste on that. Across all types of institutions, particularly two-year institutions, but also extending into public and private four-year institutions, WAMMons dominate student governance executive boards, Mr. Oxendine said. That's because that is just like busybody shit. That's like HOA shit. Only like vapid people with nothing better to do with their life take positions like this. Many young men are hobbled by a lack of guidance, a strain of anti-intellectualism, and a growing belief that college degrees don't pay off, said Ed Gorchowski, a senior vice president at Junior Achievement USA, which works with about 5 million students every year to teach career paths, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. What I see is there is a kind of hope deficit, Mr. Gorchowski said. Yeah, let's see. He said lack of guidance. Or I wouldn't say it's a lack of guidance. I would say it's an excess of guidance in the wrong direction. Strain of anti-intellectualism. Now, what I think this guy means is like, oh, these guys just hate academia because they're ignorant. It's like, no, the anti-intellectualism is in academia. And we know. We're smart enough to see it. And growing belief college degrees don't pay off. Like, well, again, it depends. This is why I try to tell you guys, do your research first. You can make a degree. I mean, I made my degree pay off, but I knew what I wanted to do when I went into college. I took like a 6-month break between high school and college and figured that shit out. The young men get little help in part because schools are focused on encouraging historically underrepresented students, even though they are now making up the vast majority. Women still get all the help, even though they're 60+% of the population at these colleges. So, Yolando Jackson, Department Chair, Indoctrination, Leadership, and Policy Analysis at the University of Wisconsin School of Indoctrination. See, maybe one of the reasons you guys are wasting so much money is because how many people in this article have these fancy titles that is a nice way of saying bloat? Said few campuses have been willing to spend limited funds on male underachievement that would also benefit white men, risking criticism for assisting those who have historically held the biggest indoctrinational advantages. Yeah. We can't help men because a white man might be helped. With attitudes like this prevailing in academia, is it any wonder that men, particularly white men, don't want anything to do with it? As a white man, if I was looking to go to college again and I saw shit like this, it's like, oh, this university isn't even willing to help minority men because there's a risk that one of those icky white men might also benefit, I'd instantly be gone. Like, nope, not giving these fuckers my money. What do I say? Don't give money to people who hate you. As a country, we don't have the tools yet to help white men who find themselves needing help, Dr. Jackson said. So this is yet another example of the government being an absolute failure. You know who does have the tools to help? Family, friends, mentors, other men. To be in a time when there are groups of white men that are falling through the cracks, it's hard. Now, Keith E. Smith, a mental health counselor and men's outreach coordinator at the University of Vermont, said that when he started working at the school in current year -15, he found that men were much more likely to face consequences for the trouble they caused under the influence of drugs and alcohol. What a shock. Even back then, people realized the double standards. In current year -13, Mr. Smith proposed a men's center to help male students succeed. The proposal drew criticism from WAMMans who asked why we give more resources to the most privileged group on the campus, he said, as they make up 40% of the population and the women succeed more. No, funding wasn't appropriate, he said, and the center was never built. The University of Oregon has one of the few college men's centers which offers help for mental and physical health. Men don't need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, said Carrie Frazee, director of the Prevention Services, who works with the center. No one can do it all by themselves. So I do appreciate that the men that need help are getting more help, but definitely try to pull yourself up by your bootstraps first. And then if that doesn't work, then you go get help. But the problem is a lot of people do it in the opposite. They don't even try anything for themselves. Like those are that's how you set yourself up for failure, by the way. But I know that was a long article, but I hope that was worth it. I am just glad that more and more men are starting to realize that not only do you not need college, but it can actually be harmful. So, final note before I sign off, don't go to college unless you know what you want to do. Don't listen to your counselors. They're just trying to get you in. Figure out what you want to do first. Then, if what you want to do requires college, go to college. But if you put yourself in debt just trying to figure out what you want to do, that is one of the worst mistakes you can make in your life, and you're setting yourself up for failure.
Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.